Hi guys. In this particular session, I thought of discuss with you few points about how to learn the English language in much more effective manner. So first we will look at the nature of the English language and then we will come up with a learning strategy. So we use a language to do two things, to communicate and think. And of course the thinking shape up the languages shape up the thinking. So we can clearly identify families of human languages. English language, which is native British, belong to the Indo-European language family. So if your language or if your native language is also part of the Indo-European language family, you will find it little bit easier to tackle with English language. If your language family is something outside the Indo-European language family, you have to put little bit extra effort to learn and use the English language. So why has the English language dominated the world? Three main reasons. The British influence, because they colonized good part of the world in 18th and 19th century. And also the US influence, the economic superpower. And the third one is interesting, the nature of the language itself. English is simple and logical language. So people like simple things. So the English has dominated key areas, the business and commerce, the educational resource, and we all know that the enlightenment pretty much occurred in Britain. The industrialization started in Britain. So therefore they have dominated the field of education, the science, the technology. So therefore a lot of first-hand resources are in the English language. Then the internet and other information, especially because of the American influence and also IT and computing. And therefore, a lot of those resources and especially programming languages, the language of the web, HTML, CSS, we all use English language or variant of English language. So as we already mentioned, first of all, we want to understand the nature of the language before start studying it. So English is extremely simple language compared to most of the other language. You can think about your own native language or your mother tongue. Compare it with English language. Think about the alphabet. Think about the words. Think about the grammar rules. 9 out of 10 times you will find that your English language is simpler than your mother tongue. And also English is highly logical and formal language. So that is why the business people, the scientific community, academic community really like to use English as a communication language. So let's dig into the simplicity and the logical nature of English language. So obviously the English language has a very simple alphabet, just 26 letters. And also relatively small number of words. So in English language, you hardly find synonyms. Most of the cases for one meaning, one concept, you have one word. It's just tree. It's just moon. It's just river. Most of the other languages, there are plenty of synonyms. One word, one concept, maybe two or three words. And also pronunciation of English terms are fairly simple. I wouldn't say it is the simplest language in the world to pronounce, but fairly, it's not unnecessarily complicated. And also the English grammar rules are extremely simple and highly logical. And finally, the both written and spoken language is the same. Only difference is bit of formality. So all those are plus points for someone learning the English language. And the result is a language good for scientific and logical thinking, language good for the technology, especially the ICT, programming and things like that, and something really good for business communication where we need unambiguous, simple, clear communication. So when it comes to learning a language, so there's a variation of challenges in different aspects. So when it comes to using a language, there are four main tasks we have to do: speaking, listening, writing, and reading. So let's analyze those. Let's try to categorize those. So out of those four tasks, speaking and listening we have to do in real time. Whereas the writing and reading, we can do it in our own time. So we can take time. We can look up in the dictionary. So usually doing things in real time is more challenging. So therefore, obviously speaking and listening is more challenging than writing and reading. And let's look at it in another way. So when it comes to speaking and writing, so we have to do it. So we are the active entity. But when it comes to listening and reading, we are the passive entity. And doing something is little bit more challenging than passively receiving it. So now you can see that when it comes to speaking, it's both real time and active. So therefore, it's obviously I wouldn't say the hardest, I would say the most challenging. But when it comes to speaking and writing, there's a positive point as well. So when we are speaking, when we are writing, we are in control. It is the choice of words is with us, the choice of grammar rules are with us. Now let's see what are the parts of a language, or what are the things that we want to understand in order to effectively use it. The words, the grammar, and the usage patterns. So let's take one by one, starting with grammar. So we all know that the grammar is binding the words in a meaningful manner. So when it comes to English grammar, it's extremely simple, extremely logical, and only a very small number of rules are there. And when the task is simple, when the task is small, we can do it, we can finish it within a very short period. And also, if you are good in your grammar, it greatly increases your confidence. Because unlike words, you can't play games with grammar. So when it comes to words, it's a different game. The words are quite a large topic, right? So there are plenty of words. Of course, the English language has lesser number of words compared to most of the other languages. Still, it's a big task. So therefore, let's not try to finish it. Let's try to start with the minimum essential and gradually build up the words. So this is a strategy. So first start with the commonly used words. Familiarize with the commonly used words. Then gradually build up your vocabulary related to your study area, your profession, things that you are interested. And also when you see a word that appears frequently, and if you are not very familiar with that, so take some time to look up that word, maybe using a dictionary or internet. And finally, it's very important you play the game of guessing, especially when you are doing the oral communication. We can't learn or we can't remember each and every word. So therefore, we have to do guessing at times, especially when you are learning the language. So play that game effectively. If you play that game effectively, if you can use the big picture, the overall context to guess it, use your intelligence. So other party has no clue of whether you guess it or whether you understood it, whether you knew the meaning or you just guess it effectively. And next, the psychological factor. So there are some people having little bit of psychological fear on using a new language. So there are some reasons. One of the biggest reason is some people try to be perfect with second language, especially at the beginning. So never try to be perfect. It's a trap. It's a trap that prevents you using the language. So therefore, have some tolerance for mistakes. When the English is your secondary language, people are not expecting perfection from you. And also they have more important task than finding your mistakes. So don't think that the world is revolving around you. Not everyone is looking for your mistakes. And also make sure that your communication is more interesting, more meaningful, so that the people will engage with the meanings rather than your grammar and words. Another frequently asked question is, should I use British accent? Accent is something influenced by the climate, culture, and some other factors. Even the American accent is different from the British accent. So the best thing we can do is stick with your natural accent. Only thing is make sure your accent is clear. So we have to think about the listener. As long as listener is comfortable, listener can understand it, so we can stick with our natural accent. And especially if you are talking to a wide audience, sometimes we use something called neutral accent, so that the majority of the people can understand it easily. Of course, we may have to do slight adjustment to our natural accent because the phonetic or the accent of the English language might be slightly different from your native language. So therefore, we may have to do some alterations to our accent. But we don't have to mimic the British people, because English is a tool. It's not something to show. And let's try to come up with a proper strategy to learn and use English language in an effective manner. So first of all, mind your grammar. We all know that grammar is binding everything together and it greatly affects your confidence. And also it's a small task, easier task. So why don't we finish it? And then gradually build up the words for the vocabulary and the proper contextual use of language. And start practicing in real world. So there are plenty of opportunities to practice in real world and start using it. And also it's very important you periodically evaluate yourself. Once in a while, just think about your competency level and see whether you have anything to improve and just work on those things, because it's an ongoing task. So if you look at the overview of the grammar, you will see that it's very small, simple thing. Just you have to look at the grammatical rules behind nouns, verbs, the tenses and voices, the big guys, the big guns, the adjectives, adverbs, articles, prepositions, conjunctions, and bit of phrases and clauses, and finally the reported speech. So it's very important when you are learning the grammar, forget about learning the words. So don't mix those two together. And we are now living in the information era. The internet is in our fingertips. So therefore use those new things as much as possible. So let's discuss few things that we can use to effectively learn and improve our English language skills. So use Google as the dictionary. So don't use physical dictionary. Even you don't have to use the software or the soft copies or the PDF or whatever. So whenever you need to find a word, just type define or meaning and the word. So Google is going to give you the meaning and some other useful information. So then when you want to check the pronunciation, again you can use Google. So you just type pronounce the word and it will give you the pronunciation in the natural speed, in a slow manner, the British pronunciation, American pronunciation. So use Google to check pronunciation, especially if you are preparing for a presentation or something like that. So you may want to check some pronunciation of some technical words. And also make a habit of visiting good websites, maybe news sites, current affairs, and go and consciously see those articles and check which words you cannot understand. You can even mark those things and check the meaning from the dictionary or the Google. So when you visit that site next time, you will find that the same word is there. Now you know that the meaning of that word. And gradually, the number of words that you are unfamiliar will become lesser and lesser. Because when it comes to especially the news websites, it's always the same things that comes. Okay, the political unrest, war, so things like that. And gradually it will build up the confidence on you. And also there are plenty of entertainment materials, the TV series, short films, etc. So which gives you both entertainment aspect as well as opportunities to learn the English language in a much more fun way. So there are some mini series like Mind Your Language. So start watching those things, and also you can enable the subtitles. So one of the biggest challenge that faced by those who are new to the English language is when it comes to songs, the English songs, they looks weird at beginning. There's a reason for that. I told you that English is really strong in the logical, scientific, business communication because of the simplicity, because of the lesser number of sounds, lesser number of characters, lesser number of words. But when it comes to aesthetic things, the literature, music, that is a bit of disadvantage. So that is why when it comes to songs, they have to put up extra effort to make it rhythmic. So if you take some languages like Hindi, effortlessly they can come up with a real rhythm because of the rich nature of sounds, words, etc. But when it comes to English language, they have to put some extra effort. So that is why when you are listening to an English song, you will find it little bit sort of intimidating, complicated at the beginning. So therefore you have to start with simple things. I am not saying that these people have come up with some of those songs with the intention of teaching English, but for some reasons some of the songs has very simple words. So start with those kind of songs and also with lyrics. So then gradually once you build up your confidence, you can dig into some other intermediate level, listening to the intermediate level songs, etc. But make sure you start with simple stuff. And also watch movies with English subtitles. So there are some movies with built-in English subtitles, and if it is not available, most of the time you can enable the default subtitle from Google. So it's very important you watch it with English subtitle and not with your native language subtitle. So when you are not very sure about a particular word, you can just have a look at the subtitle. You don't have to look at the subtitle all the time. That is another very important fact. And let's look at few other points as well. Some additional points to make your communication effective. Especially when it comes to formal communication. make sure that it is simple, clear, short, and relevant. Think about your non-verbal communication aspects, the proper postures, proper gestures, the voice control, eye contacts, and also make sure that you have a lot of confidence on what you are talking, especially when it comes to formal presentations, business meetings, etc. Make sure you know your subject. Make sure you know your language, the grammar, especially the grammatical rules, and make your communication pleasant and enthusiastic. And also prepare for it, especially when it comes to formal presentations and other things. So when it comes to written communication, especially at the beginning, when you are at the beginner level, one of the common pitfall is you try to write long sentences. Because when you are learning things, try to use those complex sentence patterns. So the best thing is use the short sentences as much as possible. You have to use a long sentence if short sentence is not going to do the work. And also think about the person who is reading it. So everyone like to read short sentences. And also most of the time these days we type in a Word document or email or whatever. So there are built-in spell checkers, grammar checkers. Use those. And also when you're writing something like a report or something, if you feel like a particular word is little bit boring, there might be a better word. So again, you can use the built-in features of finding the synonyms. And if you find a better synonym, just use that. So likewise, there are plenty of new things you can incorporate into your writing as well. So if you recap the stuff, look at the nature of the language and shape up your strategy according to the language and your needs. And if you feel like this particular session help you learning the language in a little bit better way, so make sure you subscribe and also like the video so that the others can also be benefited. Thank you.